Hello. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Roman art and architecture. This is a mural that was seen it was found in one of the buildings in Pompeii. Pompeii is a wonderful place for us in terms of art and architecture and historians as a whole because the volcano at Vesuvius erupted and covered the entire city in ash. And that explosion preserved everything in a very specific moment. It petrified people and animals um, and the surroundings, and everything was quite nicely preserved. Um, so this was a mural that was found inside of Pompeii in Rome. These kinds of murals were found in buildings throughout Rome. They really liked murals. They liked this is another mural in Pompeii. They like this trompe l'oeil, this fool the eye idea, where it looks, it's a flat wall, but it looks dimensional. It looks like there's architectural pieces happening. It looks like, walls with insets and whatnot. And trompe l'oeil is fool the eye, which was something that the Romans really enjoyed doing. Also in Rome, you see a lot of mosaics, mosaic floors throughout many of their buildings. And some of them are really quite fascinating on how they were made and how they lay out the space. This is a house in Pompeii. Um, Many of the homes in Rome had a central courtyard. Many of them had like a front shop area, and then the back portion of the home was where the family lived, and there would be rooms around the perimeter. But a lot of life took place in this courtyard, and a lot of times there was a fountain in the middle, a place to gather water with these exquisite columns around the outside. This is a modern recreation of a villa in Rome. If you ever get a chance to go to the Getty Museum in Malibu, California, I highly recommend it. John Paul Getty wanted a Roman villa, and he recreated an ancient Roman villa, and it houses many Roman sculptures and works of art, and he wanted the Roman villa built exactly as the Roman villa would have been built, using the same architectural techniques and styles. And none of the plants growing there are plants that would not grow in Rome. He wanted everything authentic to Rome. The one exception is that at the Getty Museum, the sculptures are all put on gimbals so that when there's an earthquake, the sculptures are not compromised. Other than that, it is an exact duplicate of a Roman villa. So I've got a few pictures from there just to show you. This is a fountain at the Getty, but it's a replica of a Roman fountain. Again, with this exquisite mosaic, bright colors. Um, the Romans figured out how to make cement, opus cementium, and so many things were built out of cement, which made it possible to create arcs and round pieces a lot easier than it was to sculpt them out of stone. And the Romans also perfected plumbing and found ways to get water from one location to another. And we'll look at some of the aqueducts in a moment. This is again from the Getty, but it shows what the interior would have looked like in a Roman villa home, with these murals throughout, occasional set in windows, and these coffered ceiling pieces and exquisite marble. The Romans learned how to dye marble, how to take white marble and penetrate it with dyes and then polish it so they could make marble different colors. Um, another view from the Getty. Here we see the Corinthian capitals, which the Romans adopted from the Greeks and absolutely loved. Again, you see here the trompe-l'oeil, where they've got columns, etc., set into the wall. This is the Forum in Rome, the gathering place for government and essentially the city's center. The Romans picked up a lot of the Greek architecture of using columns. The Romans added arches to things. The Romans perfected the arch and really liked the way it worked. Here's the Arch of Titus. They had a lot of these triumphal arches as entryways into a city, which celebrated a great battle or victory. And there are these throughout the Roman Empire. Here are Roman temples, very narrow, and usually with the enclosed sides and the porch to the front. Again, like you saw in Greece, the pediment and the columns, and they liked to mix up the different columns. And so they used Ionic columns and Doric columns and sometimes combined them. They made a few of these that were round instead of square. They worked to see how high they could get the columns, and many of these are quite exquisite. The Romans wanted to push the envelope on what they could do with architecture, and so they created more arches, they created greater height, and like I said, with the use of cement, that opened up some other possibilities. This is the Arch of Constantine. Again, a triumphal arch to enter the city through and commemorate a great victory of Constantine. This is the Pantheon. The Pantheon was designed as a place to worship all of the gods of Rome. And so within the Pantheon is there are niches for each of the gods in the Pantheon, the main group of Roman gods. This was built in 800. It was also built, it was worked on in 110 and also in 118 AD or CE, as the case may be. So this is the Pantheon. It made possible by cement. It's got a great cement dome. You can see that the facade has this Greek pediment style, but then the dome is behind it. Thomas Jefferson built Monticello based on the Pantheon. This is inside the Pantheon with this exquisite marble work inside and these niches for the various gods. So each god had its own altar and niche. And they took pediments and they made them round to make them interesting. So in this case, we have a round pediment and a triangular pediment, Corinthian columns, and this great domed ceiling, which has an opening in the middle of it. This is looking up at the ceiling. You can see that they've got this coffered section here to remove some of the weight, and it goes upward, and it's got this exquisite cement dome. And in the center of the dome, there's an opening called an oculus, which allowed in light. It's like a big skylight. These are some of the aqueducts that are found throughout Rome. They're a great architectural feat. Aqueducts were designed to bring clean water into the cities and wastewater away from the cities. It's our first sewer system, our first plumbing system. The Romans liked their baths, they liked their cleanliness. The baths were a social place. It wasn't just a bath to take at home It was a big social event. It was like a spa with various temperature uh, pools within. And the aqueducts made that possible. But the aqueducts also kept Rome clean and are really quite exquisite. Here's another set of aqueducts. This is the Colosseum, again using the same kind of architecture that we saw in the aqueducts, these um, great arches and building wall upon wall so that people could get in and out of the Colosseum. Modern football Colosseums are often built on the Colosseum in Rome. Here's another picture of the Colosseum in Rome. You can see here the Colosseum had Doric columns on the bottom, Ionic in the middle, and Corinthian up top. And this is to help people get in and out of the stadium for various events. You can see it's quite large. Here's a person for scale. This is the interior of the Colosseum. The floor is gone, and so you see the tunnels underneath where athletes would prepare, or whatever was happening in the Colosseum at that time. If we were battling a bear, then the bears would be kept down here. And so this is like dressing rooms and changing areas and preparation zone. And then it would have had a solid floor over the top and areas to sit throughout. Another view of the Colosseum. Sculpture. The Romans really liked realistic sculpture. So they took the artistic merit and artistic style from the Greeks and their abilities, but then they made sculptures of people. They were portrait sculptures. You would often have family members. You would have sculptures of them instead of modern photographs. And they were very realistic. If, they didn't try to change and make Nero look slimmer or better than he was. This is Hadrian. The sculptures, Roman sculptures, showed warts and all. Warts, wrinkles, balding, whatever the person looked like is how they were portrayed in the sculpture. And many of the hallways had rows and rows and rows of sculptures because you would have the various busts of your family member displayed in your villa. Again, you can see here. So we have many of these sculptures, and it gives us a good idea of what these people actually looked like. And this is a large sculpture of Constantine. This one, probably his eyes are a little bit exaggerated, but they tried to keep him as realistic as possible. And so the Romans were great at taking things from other cultures, taking ideas, taking technology, and incorporating it as their own and improving upon it. And then they also worked there were a lot of these fresco type paintings um, in buildings in addition to the murals. And many of them trying to paint realistic depictions of people. All right, and with that, we are done with Rome, with this set of highlights for Rome. So watch the other videos and enjoy. And I'll be talking to you again very soon. Bye-bye.